Rich and Mike Show, Flagler County's hometown sports show. Here are your hosts, Rich Carroll and Mike Licio.
Yes, it's another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Good Saturday morning, Flagler County. And a good Saturday morning to you, Mike Licio.
Hello, Flagler County. It was a happy homecoming at Matanzas last night, wasn't it, Rich?
Yeah, it was a happy homecoming for Matanzas. Big 26-6 victory over Bellevue district game, the whole thing. You mentioned the homecoming. Weather was not exactly ideal for a homecoming night, but it made for an interesting football game on the field.
That weather was, you felt bad. The Flagler County Corvette Club was there for homecoming, and they ended up getting to drive around the track. But I was texting with a friend before the game, and I saw them parked on the track, and most of them had their roofs open, and I thought, that's living a little dangerously. And then, much like, I'm not a weather person, but the weather we've had here is like the day before tropical storm weather for like the last 3 weeks, where it rains for sporadically, and we have these windy monsoon periods for like 10 minutes at a time. It's been like that for like 3 weeks, and tonight was no different.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to catch you by surprise. The sky, the storm didn't just come out of nowhere. The sky was gray, lots of clouds. It's been raining all day, days before, and we did get that monsoon, but it happened this week before the game, where last week it happened during the third quarter. So a little easier to deal with it from a booth broadcaster perspective when the storm or the monsoon happens before the game is actually going on. So some tough weather last night. Shout out to the Matanzas faithful there. They showed up. The stands were packed once again for this game. And shout out to Coach Zach Rigney and everybody over there. They fed us, Mike. They brought us dinner. Some pulled pork and the whole thing, some great barbecue. So I was very appreciative of that.
Yep, that really nothing helps on a rainy night like free food. And Rich and I, we're suckers for free food.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to the few people who made the trip from Bellevue, which it wasn't a lot, but it's a long trip. It's a long trip. For most of you who don't know, Bellevue is on the western end of the state, over in Sumter County. I think about 30-40 minutes south of Ocala. So it's a little bit of a trip. And, Sumter now, after tonight, Bellevue has now lost 24 of their last 25 games. And they entered the year and snapped a 20-game losing streak earlier in the year. But I thought, for the most part, that the Rattlers made a good accounting of themselves tonight. I thought they made it a very competitive game. And I'm not going to say they were the best team, but they definitely played well enough to keep themselves in the game for a long time.
Yeah, they were in the game. It was a one-score game going into the fourth quarter, 13-7 on tough conditions. Obviously, the Matanzas staff, they did the best they could to get that field ready for a football game, and it did hold up. They were able to complete the game. It was funny early on, Mike, where half the field was basically a pile of mud because that was where all the action was taking place, and the other end of the field was untouched until maybe halfway through the second quarter. It was wild to see that.
Really, till that Pirate goal line stand at the end of that Pirate goal line sequence right before the half, where they weren't able to get in the end zone. The only play that happened inside of the 30 was Ladarian Baker, who had a great night despite having a catch called back, and we'll talk about that a little later. Ladarian Baker was the only player who stepped foot on those last 30 yards. He was incredible tonight. Wiley Connor, you'll hear from him in a little bit. He just put the team on his back tonight. 36 carries, a school record, 159 yards. Becomes only the sixth player in Pirate history with 1,000 yards rushing in his career. And Ladarian Baker would have joined him on the receiving side of the 1,000-yard club, if not for a catch that got called back. So he's sitting at 995 right now. It was, and it wasn't an offensive explosion, but the Pirates, 276 yards of offense. Cole Walker, 10 of 18, 140 yards. He did what he had to do to keep the Pirates offense on the field. I think, to me, Wiley Connor, obviously player of the game, had 2 touchdowns. He did have a huge fumble early in the game that really made the game, really reason the game was still a game was
I mean,
because of
that's
that
a
fumble.
huge part why, and you give Bellevue credit still, and of course that kid Mills was unbelievable. He's playing defense. He was their workhorse on offense in the backfield. But a huge reason why Bellevue was in the game because it was just one of those games that we've seen this year from Matanzas where, man, they are moving the ball just so easily up and down the field. But the turnovers are killing them, and it keeps the other team in the game. What was it, 3 or 4 last night, Mike?
3 last night,
So
and then they had 3. They gave up 3, but those turnovers came late from the Bellevue side. Matanzas had 3 turnovers in the game early, which, like you said, kept Bellevue in it, and also the goal line stop. They got 4 plays with a goal to go and weren't able to get points out of it right before the half.
yeah, that kept Bellevue in the game, and as we mentioned, that was a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. Where you're thinking, man, Bellevue, maybe they have a shot here. You never know the conditions on the field. All it takes is another turnover to put them in position for an opportunity to. And I'm almost certain, 100%, if Bellevue scores a touchdown in that scenario, they're going for 2. They're going for the lead there, right? Because they seem to have no confidence in their field goal kicker, and at that point, if you can score and you're not sure the way they're running their offense, if they're going to get down there again, you go for 2, and that would have been there would have been a lot of drama with that. But the Pirates really they brought it home. A couple big plays. You mentioned Baker, the touchdown, the 30-yard touchdown pass to Larawan, which was an impressive. That was just such a perfect pass from Walker. He just dropped it. It was decent coverage on the outside there, but it was just one of those passes so perfect. There's nothing the defender could do. So the Pirates made the plays late to pull away and really probably give you the score you expected going into the game.
And I didn't get to say this. I meant to say this on the air, but it was a fast-moving game. That Larawan throw, or that catch, that throw by Cole Walker is one of the best throws I've seen a Flagler County quarterback make. I mean, it was a great throw. They had balance tonight. The Pirates, 140 yards passing, 136 yards rushing when you take in sack yards and kneel downs and all that, because those count in the rushing numbers. But offensively, that's the crazy thing. You talk about the score kind of got to where it should be. It really should have been 40-6, which tells you that even at this point in the season, as well as the Pirates are playing, they're capable of so much more. Another great night by the offensive line. Pirates, like I said, Wiley Connor ran for 159 yards tonight, and they didn't allow any sacks. They haven't allowed any sacks in the last 2 games, and in fact, the entire season they've only allowed 6. So we're going to hear from the one of the key contributors to the offensive line. But the important thing is Matt Forrest. I talked to him, and we talked to Jack Ferguson last week. Jack Ferguson said, for us, the playoffs began this week, last Friday against Mount Dora. And I asked Matt Forrest. I said, do you feel like your team's playing with the mentality that every week's a playoff game? And he said, absolutely, they are. That's what their mindset has to be, because if they want to make the playoffs, they really do have to win out.
Yeah, and you look at this Pirate team and the way they play football this year, and you mentioned it, you feel that the sky's the limit for this team. They have so much talent, and they could put points on the board, and they could move the football. And a real indication of that is you were talking about it at the beginning of the broadcast last night. You had multiple Pirates really going for records heading into this game. And to me, that indicates, man, you are having some season, and you got a lot of talent there.
Right now, you've got 3 players on the team who have 3 of the top 5 receiving years that the Pirates ever had. Andrew Bass, Jordan Schendorf, and I haven't had a chance to update the stats, but Jordan Schendorf now has 45 catches. Ladarian Baker has 37, and Andrew Bass has 42. Thomas Larawan has 28. He has 5 touchdown catches. I mean, these guys are putting up all-time numbers in receiving for this team, and they play complementary football. That was, that defense, that Pirate defense shows up every week. They make plays in special teams. And I want to talk about real quick. Nicholas Mills had 21 carries, 78 yards for Bellevue. I talked to Philip Hare who's the defensive coordinator for the Pirates, and Big Phil said that I said I feel like if that guy played on a different team, he might have 1,500 yards rushing. He said he might have 2,000. I mean, that guy is just a football player, and he's a senior. And I don't know if he's going on to the next level, but somebody needs to come and find that kid because I think I don't know where you put him, but wherever you put him, it seems like he'd be capable of playing.
Yeah, he's impressive. He's a football player, and that's what you saw last night at the Ship. You saw football players playing old school football in the mud, running game, defense. It was just it was a throwback, and it was great to see when you see these players walking around and you can't even see the number or the name on the jersey because it's covered in mud. It was just a really cool old school style football game to watch. The wind swirling, some rain, mud, players sliding all over the place. It was a very entertaining football game to watch.
And now, what do the Pirates have left to play for? We didn't get to talk about, again, fast moving game last night. Very fast moving. Feel like we didn't have time to talk about anything. The Pirates, if they win out, let's talk about the postseason real quick for the Pirates. If they win out, I'd say it's about a 50-50 chance. It just depends on what happens around them that they make the playoffs. But this year, in fact, about a week and a half ago, the FHSAA announced that they're going to have an invitational bracket. So similar to the college basketball NIT, they're going to take the top 16 teams. They're going to take 4 classes, 4A through 7A, and they're going to put them all together. And the top 16 from those 4 classes who didn't make the playoffs would get to go into an invitational bracket. Now, as of last week's rankings, the Pirates, who now have another win on their schedule, they were ranked 10th. They would be lined up with the 7 seed Childs. So they still have, I think if I had to say it, I think that, do they make the playoff bracket? I'd say right now it's probably about a 50-50 chance if they win out. If they win out, will they make that invitational bracket? Yes, and they may even get a home game if they win out, I think. So there's still a lot, even though playoffs are a toss-up, there's still a lot to play for that Pirate team. So I'm looking forward to seeing. They have the week off this week. Then they have Menendez. Menendez lost 42-0 to Bishop Kenny last night. Their quarterback, Cash Downey, is out for the season. Although, as I say that, I don't know if that's been reported or not. Sources tell me he's out for the season. But Menendez always seems to have their number, so I wouldn't take that one for granted. Or the Palm Bay game. They got 2 games left. They have 2 games that if they play the football they're capable of doing, they'll win. So the future, it looked kind of in question after that Seabreeze loss, but I think the Pirates are headed in the right direction, and we should see some sort of November football from them.
Yeah, that's exciting. Menendez has just been a thorn in the side of the Pirates for the last half decade, especially here. Some bad losses against that team, and you always got to be wary of rivalry games like that. And I definitely think at this point you have to say Menendez-Matanzas. That's a rivalry matchup. That's an exciting game. So hopefully the Pirates can come through this year against Menendez. The idea about the invitational, I am very excited about that. I think that's awesome. There's a lot of teams in the state, okay? And not everybody can play for the state championship. And for a lot of these programs to give them an opportunity to continue playing into November for something, and I think any team that's involved in that tournament will be extremely happy to win it. And if that's the consolation prize and that's what the Pirates get, I think it's awesome. And I would love to follow their journey in that bracket as well. So it's rare you hear us say, great job to the FHSAA, and maybe it's something that should have been implemented next year. You mentioned, right in the middle of the season, you make this huge announcement. But at the same time, I just think it's great for the schools. I think it's great for the kids that if you don't get in the playoffs, at least there's something else for you to play for. And I think it's exciting. I think it's great.
There are few bigger critics of the FHSAA than me. And, my feud with the FHSAA goes back a long, long time. However, I will say this. I wasn't crazy about it when they did it last year. They did it for the rural class. And the reason I thought it was stupid is because there's only 40-something schools in the rural class and 16 make the playoffs. So you're really, the championship game for the invitational tournament for the rural class ended up being like 5-7 Dixie County versus who lost by 50 points to Bellevue, by the way. And I forgot who else, I think it was Fort Meade, who was like 4-8. And I think that was the wrong approach. What I like about this approach is that we're not taking and doing it class by class. Because I think if you put you take each class has about 60 schools, 32 make the playoffs. If you take the next 16 from each class, you're not really getting good football. What I like about this is they're taking the 4 largest classes and the 3 smallest classes, separating them out, and then taking 16 teams from those groups. So class 4A through 7A, they're going to take all 4 classes and take the top 16 across the board. So 16 of they're going to take the 16 out of the 4 classes that didn't make. So I like that because I think it is competitive football. And you got to look at it kind of like the bowl system, like the bowl games in college football. Now the college football playoff exists. Do the bowl games matter? I don't know. I certainly enjoy watching bowl games. I enjoy going to the Gator Bowl, the Capital One Bowl. I enjoy when there's a Thursday night in December and I get to watch football. And I think the thing you can never go wrong with, in my opinion, because I love the game, there's never anything wrong with more football.
That's a great point. Exactly. There's nothing wrong with more games. And that's a great analogy. The bowl games. Yeah. If obviously you can say they're glorified exhibition games, but still it means a lot for a lot of those guys. That's the last game, if they're seniors, that they'll ever play, that level of football. So
and they get one more kick at the can. And how awesome is that?
I think it's great. And for a lot of these kids, seniors, and that's why I have no problem with them announcing this in the middle of how many seniors are on the Pirates, and they can potentially, even if they don't make the traditional playoffs, still get involved in a tournament where you get to just play more games and get as much out of your high school career as you can. So I think that's a great comparison with the Bowls. And if the Pirates, you look at it, you say, hey, they have a good chance if they don't make the traditional playoffs to continue playing and play for a prize. It's really cool, I think.
And how exciting is that? For these kids at Matanzas, it's been kind of an up and down few years. They had that injury-riddled season their freshman year. I guess that would be right. Their freshman year, it was a year where the Pirates struggled. They were down with injuries. They were down to like their 4th-string quarterback. Then they made the playoffs their second year. Then they slid back their third year. And so they've been up and down. And those kids have never quit on themselves. They've never quit on the program. And for them to be rewarded for what they've put in these last 4 years at Matanzas, I think is pretty awesome.
Yep, so we're looking forward to that. All right, Mike, you got some happy Pirates after their big 26-6 district victory over Bellevue last night?
Yes, let's talk to some of these players. Let's start with Wiley Connor, a school record 36 carries, 159 yards, and 2 touchdowns last night. He now has 753 yards rushing on the season. So he has his eyes on a 1,000-yard season. So an extra postseason game would really help him towards that cause. But I ran him down on the track. I just wanted to make sure I got to him. So I went and found him in the dark.
Right.
Wiley, 36 carries. That's a school record. What do you say after a game like that?
They just trusted me to run the ball, keep the ball in my hands, and I executed very well.
It was one of those nights with this field where you kind of had a feeling the game would be put on your shoulders. What were you thinking before the game?
I was a little nervous, as I am before every game, but not unusual.
How about your offensive line tonight?
Offensive line was doing really good. The holes were wide open, and yeah.
Guys, take it 1 week at a time, I know, but you got to keep winning. You got another win. What do you do for the bye week?
For the bye week, going to take off. Lots of ice baths, really need that. And just get my body ready for Pedro.
Yeah, he's the workhorse. He's a star this year. Wiley Connor having a fantastic season. He has an attitude almost like a baseball player, which he is, right? Where you can have that fumble early in the game, but kind of get past it like you struck out with the bases loaded in the first inning. It's okay. You have more at-bats coming, and then you come back and you smash a bases clearing double in the third inning because you could put it behind you. And that's exactly what he did last night. He had that early fumble, but man, he had a great night after that.
I talked to Coach Forrest after the game, and he said exactly what you just said, that he could have, when he fumbled, he could have said, okay, well, it's the offensive line's fault. They didn't block the person who tackled me. He could have said, it's a wet field, it's a slick ball, and made an excuse. And he said he put his head down and went to work. And I think one of the things that makes Wiley so versatile is Coach Hare tells me he wants to play more defense. And he's only played about 20, 25 snaps this year on defense, but he has 2 sacks. So he's just a football player. He wants to be out there. I think if they told him that, they needed him to come back Monday and carry the ball another 36 times, he would. And also, by the way, not that this is related to anything, but I grabbed a burger. They gave me a burger to take home from the concession stand after the game, and his dad makes a hell of a burger. So congratulations to Mr. Connor on that as well.
Yeah, great burgers, hot dogs, and just a great vibe at the ship these days. You got to love Friday night at Matanzas.
So how do you get 159 yards rushing, right? You got to have somebody blocking for you. And you have this Pirate offensive line, they're the grunt work. They're averaging over 4 yards a carry. They have only allowed 6 sacks in 8 games. So it starts with the offensive line opening those holes that Wiley talked about. It's about giving Cole Walker time to throw and find that talented receiver group, because they do, as you said on the broadcast, they do a great job of getting open. But if the offensive line isn't protecting Cole Walker's not getting the time to find all those open guys. And the leader of that is a 4-year starter, one of my favorites. I got to talk to Kenneth Roberts as well tonight. Anytime in a game like this, it's a muddy game, it's a ground and pound game. That's the time when you guys have to step up. How do you feel about the line's performance tonight?
I feel like we did pretty good. We had a couple rocky moments, but we just preach to stay one, keep us tight. We're brothers, In this money game like this, the game going to be on us. So we just got to take accountability for all the mistakes and just keep going.
Wiley had 159 yards rushing tonight, had 36 carries. How does it feel to know that he's rewarding your performance by getting the ball in the end zone, getting yards, getting first downs, and keeping the drives moving?
Feels good. Wiley got a lot of talent, man. He's only going to get better. But, I trust our O-line making holes. The whole team, great effort today. Defense put on the show today, man. It's the whole team.
8 games into the season, you're trying to make a push for the playoffs. How do you feel about where the team's at right now?
I feel like we're doing pretty good. Instead of going back, we're going forward, as a team. We're getting closer as a team. And as the season goes, we just want to see how far we go,
6 sacks allowed the entire season, almost 5 yards a carry. When you hear those numbers, what's that say about you and the rest of the offensive line?
We're one. We preach it in practice every day. We hang out of practice. We just won. Best friends, man.
How would you like to finish your senior season?
I'd like to finish off going far in the playoffs and as going far as we can.
Another one of those seniors fighting to play longer this year, make a playoff run. And, yeah, he's the leader of that offensive line, and they're just doing a great job this year. Great in the run block game. And as you mentioned, not giving up sacks. So kudos to those guys. They're having an amazing year.
And this is not a Pirate team that you look at. It'd be very easy for Bellevue's offensive line to have only allowed 6 sacks in 8 games. They threw the ball 6 times last night. I think the 18 attempts tonight was a season low for Cole Walker. He's thrown the ball 266 times. So they're dropping back to pass a lot. So their ability to protect him is outstanding. And then Coach Forrest, he says, he says that the offensive line is the most talented group. It's not most talented. He did say they're very talented. He said they're the closest group on the team. He says, they're a close-knit group. And you hear that when, Kenny talks about his team, and he calls them his brothers.
Yeah, and they are playing. They have each other's backs. And, again, this is you have short memory. You give up a sack or maybe a run for a loss. You get out. You get back out there. You live to fight in another play. And you see them constantly doing that. It's like, oh, we made a mistake. Maybe we had a false start, but we always come back and we give the best effort. So that's coaching and that's players that really determined to have a great season. And that's what we're watching unfold here, especially the last 2 weeks with the Mount Dora game and this game now.
The Pirates play complementary football. The offense scores points. The defense gets teams off the field. They have 10 interceptions as a team this year. They hold their opponents. The Pirates have 53% third down conversion rate. Their opponents 31%. So that tells you right there, that's complementary football. They make plays in special teams. They've blocked 3 kicks. And so that's how they're winning games, is complementary football. And one of the guys who does things on both the units we haven't mentioned is Jaden Dormerville, who returns kicks and plays defense. And really, this is not setting up to be a night that Jaden Dormerville was going to do a lot, because they only threw the ball 6 times, but somehow he found a way.
Just your thoughts on tonight to start out, because it's a district game, so you can throw records out the window. Thoughts on the team tonight?
I think that they played a good ball game for what it was worth. It was very muddy. Field conditions definitely had a factor. I feel like we also did very good. We had some small mistakes that we could have hit on, and I feel like we could have did better on both sides of the ball. Just fix the little key things, and we'll be all good.
What could you have done better?
I feel like I did good for what it was worth. Like I didn't have much action out there, and I feel like I made the most of what I did get, and I took what I could get.
What's this season been like for you?
It's been a very good season. I'll say my best season yet. Because last season I had 0 picks, and then now I have 5 on the season. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm getting better by the game, and I'm very proud of my progress and proud of how far I came.
You get 1 or 2 picks, it's because the ball's finding you. But if you get 4 or 5, then at that point it's you finding the ball. What have you changed to be able to do that?
I'd say just my eyes and my discipline. Just flying around the field, seeing plays, making it happen. And I'm not letting them come to me. I'm going to make the plays myself. I'm not sitting back and watching the ball in the air. I'm going and attacking it.
What a great job by Dormerville in that game last night. 5 interceptions. Mike, he was, and there was the one last night, but we feel like he should have had 2.
For sure. And I asked him, because I was watching that tape of Bellevue last week. I said, you knew you were going to get one, didn't you? He said, yes, sir, I did. And he got 2. And again, they only threw 6 passes the entire game. So for 2 of them to end up on Dormerville's hands just tells you the kind of year he's had. And he's been an excellent kick returner. And, this wasn't a game that he was going to make a lot of tackles, which he has had some games where he's made a lot of tackles. This was not going to be one of them. They run between the tackles. It's on the front 7. He was very complimentary of the front 7 as well. And, I'm happy to see Jaden Dormerville's another guy, 4-year starter, who's, found his way. He started as a wide receiver, couldn't catch as a wide receiver, what the coaches tell me. And then, now he's a lights out defensive back.
Congrats to the Matanzas Pirates. They are 5-3 on the season. Now we're going to try to squeeze in our NFL picks after this.
Get ready. Week 6 of the NFL season is officially here. Your Jacksonville Jaguars are gearing up to go head-to-head with the Seattle Seahawks in our crucial catch game dedicated to the fight against cancer. Join us October 12th at Everbank Stadium as we raise awareness through early detection, risk reduction, and education. Lock in your tickets now at jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We'll see you at the bank.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
All right, we are basically out of time here. Good weeks for both of us last week, both 2-1. I'll run through it. I have the Chargers this week, -3.5 over the Dolphins. Kansas City, -2.5 over Detroit. That's an interesting one. And the LA Rams, -7.5 over Baltimore. Mike?
Tampa Bay, -3.5 over San Francisco. Tennessee, +3.5 over Las Vegas. And the Washington Commanders, -4.5 over the Bears.
Next week, we have the FPC Bulldogs against Yulee. Big game. Sal Campanella, Friday night. Don't miss it. That's another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Have a great weekend, Flagler County.